Here's the latest controversy surrounding Kim Soo Hyun and Sulli and her brother.
Sulli's brother, in a stream, in a post, he brought up the question of his late sister's bed scene in the film Real, essentially alleging that Kim Soo Hyun pressured her to do it and that he's a creep.
Yep. And then Kim Soo Hyun and gold medalist came out with this statement. Hello, this is gold medalist. We are making an official statement regarding the recent issue related to the film Real. First, we offer our blessings to the late Sulli, because the female lead Song Yoo-ha, who was played by the late actress Sulli, had a bedroom scene in the film's script. We made clear that the part required an actress who is fine with nudity. Just as there are requirements listed for a job in an ordinary job postings, the role of Song Yoo-ha required nudity, which is a condition that needs to be made known in advance. If anything, we believe that discussing nudity after casting could make an actor feel pressured or forced. The script that was given to the late actress Chejili's agency at the time also included a bedroom scene, and the materials explaining the character of Song Yoo-ha included plans for the extent of nudity involved. Also, when drawing up the contract for her appearance, there was a separate clause written up regarding the level of nudity. The late actress Chejili and her agency at the time had sufficiently reviewed all of the content before deciding to appear in the film. Nevertheless, because the production team knew that a bedroom scene requires great courage for actors, there were plenty of preparation and procedures before filming, and the late actress Chejili was well acquainted with the bedroom scene when she participated in filming.
That seems pretty standard in any film.
Yeah. So what are our assessments here? What do we believe?
In this case, we believe the gold medalist statement issued from the director of the film here.
In our last piece on Kim Soo Hyun, we went over what the pedophiliac disorder is because we do believe he may be a pedophile, but we're using pedophile here as a colloquial term. Do you want to elaborate on?
Or an ephebophile. Thank you to commenter Janine Anita with her comment. Can I just mention from your intro that KSH is not a pedophile. Clinically, a pedophile is someone attracted to prepubescent children. In the case of KSH, Kim Soo Hyun, he would be classed as a groomer. And she said groomers can target any age. And to further that on her train of thought, he would be what's called an ephebophile. They break up the classifications. A pedophile is technically the prepubescent age, and a hebophile is someone around like 13 and 11 to 13, and then the ephebophile is someone just before 18. Biologically, they're a little more developed. We made the choice to use the word pedophile as it's colloquially and popularly used when it comes to the age of consent, and also because of this image here, which, back to her point, I'll come back for this later, would be the thinking, he's grooming. And just because they don't act on the impulse, that impulse would exist when the child was of that age. But those distinctions in a clinical sense are important, and it was up to us to explain why we chose the term we used and to clarify further, not necessarily correct, but to clarify.
Yes.
And to let you know that we were aware of that distinction, and now that you should be too.
Yep.
We want to be responsible. We want to be someone trustworthy. So thank you again, Janine Anita, for that.
But moving forward, we will just use the term pedophile as an all-encompassing term.
Only as a shorthand or a heuristic when it comes to the age of consent.
Yes.
Anything below 18.
Yep.
So why do we believe Kim Soo Hyun and his team here?
It's because in his press conference, he uses the term, and a lot of keen-eye viewers were mentioning, he separates the star Kim Soo Hyun and then the normal, regular Kim Soo Hyun.
인간 김수현과 스타 김수현의 선택이 엇갈릴 때마다 저는 늘 스타 김수현으로서의 선택을 해왔던 것 같습니다.
So what does this mean? He does not mix business and pleasure together. He takes his work very seriously. It's the majority of his identity, and he will not taint that image.
He cannot risk polluting that image.
It's why when Kim Soo Hyun expressed in an interview she would like to work with Kim Soo Hyun as a counter actor.
Can I act with you in a movie?
They asked her, who would you want to work with?
Yeah.
And she expressly said Kim Soo Hyun. But notice, even if they were in the same agency in Gold Medalist, that never happened.
He made a point not to act with her.
He doesn't do that.
Yeah.
If you work in the same agency, it's very natural to work on a project, but it just never happened. When he's working, he is working. He is a professional. He's exacting, more than the average person. In our previous video that we did on Kim Soo Hyun, we mentioned the pedophiliac disorder and that pedophiles have a different executive functioning than neurotypical brains. And in this case, we'll call them the conscious versus the unconscious pedophiles. Conscious pedophiles means that these pedophiles are aware of their attraction towards children. And the unconscious pedophiles are not aware that they have this attraction and desire for children.
Make sure to go check out that previous video for further context and relevant exposition here. But to her point, as a quick review anyway, these pedophiles all outperform the normative minds in abstract reasoning, which is thinking in complex ways, and in planning and strategizing.
So all the claims that people are making just because the controversy surrounding Kim Soo Hyun, that he must be a sexual predator in general. So we're going to have to use some deductive reasoning here, because basically what you guys are saying is all dogs have tails, right?
Yeah.
Then all animals that have tails must be dogs, correct? Is that a valid statement?
Second statement's an invalid argument.
Exactly, because it draws a conclusion on a false premise.
Yeah, that he's an overall sexual, like a general cad and awful sex creeping man about town. This is flawed logic. There's no evidence which would lead to a false conclusion. As a matter of fact, the evidence that points to what we said in our previous video actually helps support that this would not be the case in this accusation.
Correct. He's too exacting, like we were saying.
So her brother was wrong here, and I would posit knowingly. I see this come up a lot. You just want clicks and views. One, often the person saying this or posting this does too, and they just lack the ability to get them. It is based on envy and resentment. They just have no access.
Yeah.
Two, everybody does. They want these things. It's very human. The difference is, do you think it does the world any good? Are you doing any good? Do you want this thing to spread, to have as many eyes on it as possible in order for that to happen, like anyone does? But why? Never fame just for fame's sake.
But to further supply our evidence, Sulli was infamous in opening up about her panic disorders, her mental illness issues that she was having with depression and anxiety, and she was seeking professional help. And when we say professional help here, the level she was feeling those anxieties and that depression, they're going to prescribe you medication. She was most likely being prescribed some kind of anti-anxiety medication like
a benzodiazepine.
Yeah, or
like
a Xanax. Yes. But these are the symptoms that exhibit when taking these kinds of medications.
It works on a receptor, which is called the GABA receptor. GABA usually keeps a sense of calmness. It has sedative properties. It has muscle relaxant properties. You feel the good feeling in that way. One may feel the effects for approximately, I would say, 3 to 4 hours. And then one may need to repeat it at that time to get the effect again. And it lasts in your system approximately 8 hours or so. So it washes out pretty quickly. Benzodiazepines, including Xanax, can cause cognitive problems. Over a period of months to years, people can have memory problems. You become psychologically and physically addicted to the medication. If you don't take it, you can develop severe withdrawal. You will become restless. You will become irritable. You will become edgy. You won't be able to sleep. You may start to have gastric problems. You may feel sweaty. You start to lose all of the positive effects of the medication. And because it has a short half-life, you need to increase it and you need to take it more frequently.
So now, knowing what we know, we need to take a look at this interview.
어떤 장평이 더 매력적이던가요?
한 사람에서 두 사람 같은 매력을 볼 수 있으니까 너무 짜릿했어요.
쐈어 지금. 감사합니다. 진리 씨 말대로 진짜로 호흡이 완전 다른 두 인물이었어요. 같이 연기를 하면서도 쾌감이 느껴질 정도로 간단하게 말씀드리자면 아티스트예요.
You could see in this interview that Sulli didn't understand the interviewer's question. She couldn't answer the question properly. And you can see the actor swooping in to help her to supply that answer to the question. This interview was posted on June 27th, 2017.
2 years
Before she...
left?
Yes, before she unalived herself.
She has 2 years left.
This is really important because in the same year, she made an Instagram live post on October 13th, 2017, to kind of show you the headspace she was in.
So this is the same year she was promoting the film Real?
Yes.
Okay.
Same year, 2017.
다시 안 사겨. 그거 다 뻥이야. 나한테는 아니 때는 굴뚝에 저기 뭐야 연기가 나더라고. 나한테는. 그러니까 나한테 오해하지 마라. 난 나쁜 사람 아니야. 오늘 아파서 병원에 갔다가 이제 곧 나갈 거야. 친구들 만나러. 술 먹냐고? 나는 오늘 칵테일 딱 2잔을 마실 생각이야. 방 구경은 안 돼. 너무 더러워. 립? 립 뭐냐 이게? 내가 호수 이런 걸 몰라가지고.
Notice here her childlike state. And I want to emphasize it's very different from 애교, right?
Yeah.
And 애교 is almost intentional to get, how would we even describe it? It's different.
It's similar. 애교 just means being cute. But this feels like a regression.
Yeah, this is something else.
Because she can't slip out of it.
Yes. And she asks you guys to not look at her as a bad person.
She looks away from the camera when she says she's not.
When you have a personality disorder, when she's looking away from the camera, she's not convinced herself that she may not be a good person. She's believing what the audience members are telling her, which is a symptom of most likely borderline personality disorder.
You've successfully convinced her to doubt whether she believes she's a good person or not.
And that's what happens with these disorders. I also want to make mention here, notice when she was asked about going inside a room and she said she will not go inside a room because they are quote unquote dirty there. And she laughs and giggles to herself. Sulli knew about Burning Sun. She says she doesn't go inside of rooms. They're dirty. Both her and Kuara, they all knew what was going on behind these closed doors. They knew about the sexual violent crimes that were happening, and they felt helpless and voiceless despite their influence.
For all we know, she herself could have been a victim of it at a point in her life.
That could probably be what was contributing to her doubt in herself to understand whether she was a good person or not. Because despite her influence, she couldn't stop it. You still don't believe me that she knew about Burning Sun? Here's Kuara. She played a pivotal role in exposing Burning Sun. So this kind of childlike regression, or reverting to that younger state of mind, is a coping mechanism that comes out during high stress or anxiety and trauma.
Which she is very definitely and clearly experiencing here.
Yeah. And this was only 2017. Now let's take a look at a post she made on 2018, June 22nd, 2018.
She's got 1 year left before she unalives herself on October 14th, 2019.
Yep. This post is made at night. She can't sleep. Notice the dark circles under her eyes. And how she just bursts into tears. It's an 8-minute long clip and she doesn't say anything.
And here you see a dangerous combination of regression and sexualization for any remaining lingering scraps of attention, which have probably already run dry and are in short supply. The sad thing is, if you get attention this way, you feel worse about yourself after, but the trap is already sprung and the spiral only worsens.
She was suffering tremendously for those 2 years, 2017 and 2018, all the way up to 2019, before her decision to take her own life.
It doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's ongoing exposure to trauma.
So I ask everyone who was working with her, her brother even, where were you guys then?
Someone who clearly wasn't mentally and emotionally fit to be working was working until the very end.
Meaning there was more demands and more pressures placed on her when her well-being was even pressure enough for her. That waking up and getting out of bed was probably very difficult for her. And yet she's expected to work and perform for everybody.
It's tricky with mental illness because the person can often tell you they're okay And if you're not quite empathetic enough, or there's another incentive motivating your interest there, you'll say, okay, fine, then she'll show up. And then she does something wrong or doesn't show up. And then your agent calls and screams at you, why didn't you show up on set? Do you know how many opportunities you're losing out on now?
Yeah.
So then you feel worse.
Yeah. And usually people with borderline personality disorders, they have this tendency to people please. And so she probably had a very strong need to please people in order to be loved, in order to be liked.
I'm not doing a good enough job, and someone's telling me I'm not doing a good enough job.
Yeah. And like I said in my last video, in my previous video, I am somebody who suffers from narcissistic personality disorder. And my values that I had, if I spoke them out loud, sound really gross, that I would put myself over any human being. But I ask all those who are working with her at that time, her agency, her friends, her family members, anybody who was around her, and it would feel wrong and disgusting, I know. But ask yourself, did I possibly devalue a human being who was very much clearly suffering? And did I not care? Did I turn a blind eye? For what? For money? For my own benefit? Did I put my needs over another human being's needs? Someone who is outright suffering? Did I turn a blind eye? I know I have, and I am glad I can say that out loud, because this conscious awareness is what afforded me the path to healing.
We believe the cast knew of these conditions and they were trying to accommodate her. That there are records of this now don't surprise Jessica or I, with the director supplying adequate paper trails akin to any movie were irrelevant.
Yeah.
We already knew this.
Yeah.
It deviates wildly from Kim Soo Hyun's profile.
He is a perfectionist when it comes to his work. He doesn't let that image get ruined.
Someone who may have an obstruction on their path to healing. An opinion. He was quick, her brother, to see if he could use this, leverage this for viewership, and to see if he could trick the public into bandwagoning onto a monster. And yeah, also this too. I don't speak the language, and on that video, when I watched it over your shoulder, I spotted it right away.
Mm-hmm.
This is a podcaster with no substance, nothing to say, no reason to be listened to. You result then to sensationalism rather than accept this difficult fact that your fame is unwarranted and not in alignment at the level of your hungry desire for it or entitled expectation. And the lengths he goes to achieve that sensationalism reveal that nothing is sacred to him. Not even the name of his sister. If anything, I think he only invokes her name because it gathers attention. That's all he has. That's all he's been.
You know, and to jump on that, what you're saying,
Yeah.
I think we spoke about it in our last video on South Korea and just South Korean men in general. Sulli was his little sister, just how the patriarchy system works over there. For her to have been the breadwinner, I don't think sits well with him. Because in a country that is telling you that you have to reach some kind of economic status in order to be somebody worthy to be looked at, I don't think it's going to sit well with that guy, with her brother.
And yet he invokes her name at any grab at relevancy.
Yeah, which is, it's really sad on his part too, that psychology at play.
To your question, it applies to him specifically. Where were you when she was struggling? He can't say he didn't know. She had an 8-minute silent Instagram post.
We all knew.
Everyone knew.
Yeah.
But if as long as she's alive and you can mention you're her brother and it gets you into wherever you're going and it's a calling card, it's fine.
Yeah.
As long as she's working and bringing in the money.
Yeah.
So,
she wasn't okay to work. That's just, it's so wild.
No, we can't say we did not know she wasn't okay. Anyone after seeing that, hey, are you okay? And there's no answer you can accept except no, I'm not. You are not okay.
No.
So I wonder then, in his case, back to it again, the age-old dilemma when someone's wrong and propounding a message, asking people to go after Kim Soo Hyun for something he did not do.
Yeah.
Stupid or evil?
Yeah.
Stupid or lying?
Yeah.
Did he really not know? In which case, I feel like he could have done some digging and asked the director himself before he flew off the wheel and did that.
I'm just curious, why is he coming up with this 6 years or so later?
Yeah. Or is this an open and obvious grab for headline association, tying his name to the public lynching of Kim Soo Hyun?
Yeah, which is very much a narcissistic trait, because as we mentioned, narcissists and people with these personality disorders, they have a very strong need to be seen. And this is probably the biggest scandal that's ever hit Korea.
Best guarantee.
Yeah, a single person doing it. A single person, because Nth Room and Burning Sun were huge scandals, but this is one
He
person.
wasn't asking this question privately. He wasn't doing it
No.
on his phone. This he had the mic. He's a podcaster. This is his only
Yeah.
thing to say, which means you have nothing to say.
Yeah.
But as far as his accusation for Kim Soo Hyun and thinking he could sneak in and add that straw to the rest of the straws and on the camel's back, or whatever the metaphor would be, needle in a haystack, no.
No. Kim Soo Hyun in his work, he is a professional.
He is just an actor too.
We cannot express this enough. He does not taint that image. Notice in his interview, he said that the star Kim Soo Hyun, there's a different persona there, and he takes the star Kim Soo Hyun very seriously. That's his everything. That's the identity that fuels him, that allows him to live.
She was struggling. It's narcissism to the point of callous to attempt to gather eyes to you and capitalize on her suffering without examining any area where you, her brother, could take responsibility.
Were you there before? I don't think so, man. I think she was very much alone. You don't make decisions like that unless you were alone.
The only people left comforting her on that stream were men trying to sleep with her and fans who wanted something from her. I suspect you still want something from her too.
걔네들은 갑자기 나타났어요, 어느 날. 그냥 연기했던 기억인 것 같기도 하고, 스트레스 때문인가? 아니면 잘 모르겠어요. 가끔은 정말 그게 나인가 싶기도 하고, 그럼 난 정말 누구일까? 내가 뭘 잘못했나? 그냥 다 끝내고 싶다. 그런 생각을 해요. 끝이요? 글쎄요. 어떤 끝인지는 각자 생각이 다르지 않을까요?